Alrighty, so week 10 in our class, and a couple topics I want to go over. One is about iteration, and there's so many examples where, in so many areas, technology wise, learning wise, that you learn, you iterate, you learn, you iterate, you learn, you iterate. In this case, when we're doing database design, it's not like there's a query that we have an example, right, of that says exactly what it should produce. What and really this is kind of what I meant here is really your data, your sample data is in a way that that solution, because you should be able to represent your the sample data in the database that you've designed. And that really is, and I found this, and you'll see this in my donut solution where I actually went and wrote the sample data, and this is what we're doing next, so I thought it was a good way to show it. But there's just so many times when I look at something, and then the other thing is I've had a couple of you who actually do a better job at designing than I do, which is great, because the truth is in this stuff, right? We're all I mean, the hope is that we're all learning, and we're all learning, right, at different levels, yes. And the process that I'm doing this week, which I'll get to in a minute, builds upon what I saw last week, where I gave you, okay, do the ATL, then view my solution and grade yourself. And then the second one, which we're going to finish this week, and I guess it's time to walk into that process, is that based on the feedback, then you can update your connections, because connections was one of those, you definitely is a good iteration, right? So we iterate, we do a version, you submit it to me, I review it against what I created, right? Not necessarily even the best one, but one I created as an example for a standard to achieve. So what you do, and this will be, right? So now what on this Monday before, right, before you complete the donut submission, what you're going to want to do is implement into your connection from the last Thursday night any changes that I gave you feedback on that you lost points on, okay? And you want to do that before you submit the Dunkin' Donuts, that's funny, before the Union Square one, okay? And like that one, you'll do the Union Square schema, right? I will give you feedback, and then you can fix that, right, before you go on Thursday. Now, if you, and very much like here, if you didn't need to change anything on, now actually this is an additional benefit in this sense, if you didn't need to change anything, and actually I talk about this here, when on Thursday, if there was no changes that I said you needed to make, then you can just submit that same commit history for your Thursday night item. But again, after you commit it, right, so in this case, I'm already talking about this one. After you submit your schema, right, for this Dunkin' one, then you'll be able to see my Happy to Connect solution. That's why you got to get this done. So in this case, on Monday, when you submit your schema, I'll give you feedback, and then you can fix anything, right, that you had that I gave you feedback on. Again, iteration, iteration, iteration. If you didn't need to fix anything, you just get to submit the commit history. Now, the reason I ended up doing the donuts this way is that I felt like there was just a new step up a little bit of complexity, and I wanted to give you a chance to, fix some of the things I saw in the work. And you can do that here before, you just have to do it before you look at my solution. Okay, so that's the overview of this week. Building on the idea of iteration, definitely for all the database designs I did this week, there was multiple versions. You will see this in the donut one. And I enjoy, because I really build my skill level of analyzing requirements and then looking at sample data to see if my database design is is correct for the kind of data, because until you actually see data, it is hard to know how well you've done this. This is true with anything, but especially with design of data. This is why you go through a process of actually doing this. Okay, all right, so for the actual attendance points this week, one of the things, like, I've been using the ICAs as a way to, for those of you that haven't already started writing prompts or interacting with some kind of generative AI. Most people are using ChatGPT, but there are many others out there. I think Claude's great. I use locally. So I use Olama. Actually, I have two versions here. I have the latest one. Right, I run these locally, which is really great. But in this case, I think just part of being in any kind of space is learning how to prompt. Right. So here's what I want you to do: is how do you use prompting? Like how, give us give us examples. This is what I talk about. Right. So be specific. Tell us what you have found to be good practices. Like one of the things, and I can't believe I didn't think of this before now. I was having the weirdest error on my schema, actually building my database from my schema, and it was like, and I just put it in ChatGPT. I think I used, I can't remember which one I used, but then I said, hey, what's this error? And it told me, and it was a syntax error that I just didn't see. And that's where it's like, could code space, and I bet there's an extension I could find, and I'll probably start looking for it now to actually get that. Okay, so if you have what you feel are some good prompting, like, do you feel like you're getting good results out? One of the things about prompting, and I have found this just by doing these ICA assignments, is like the more context I can throw at a prompt, right? The better that's going to be. I mean, it's just like, because I can throw it a lot of content, and then how I frame it for, like, what do I want to see? I mean, there's just so many great, the more expansive, right? This is where prompting goes way beyond where we're at with search, using search engines. And that's great. I mean, because there are definitely more content that we need to see. Okay. So coming back here, so by the way, I should have actually showed you right there, is that the idea of the way the week is set up, right? So in this case, here's your submission of the Connect. I'll give you feedback before you submit this, your start of the donut, before you do that, right? Make sure you've gone back up and resubmitted this with any changes you did. I actually gave some content on the write-up. And then once you've done that, you can look at my solution to Connect, and then you will, once you submit the donut, I will give you feedback, and then you can implement that, and then you'll do that before you view my solution. Okay? All right, so that's the way. Let's go back to attendance, because I think there was one other thing. Yeah, so if you're somebody that feels like you could really improve, right? If you don't know, like, how to write good prompts, like, go to ChatGPT and ask it. Actually, it was really helpful to ask it how to write good prompts. I mean, I've done this, and there's just great video. I mean, actually, there's too much video. Like, if I was to go to YouTube and I was to say, right, prompt, and actually this is an interesting one I watched the other day, which was prompt engineering versus prompt crafting, because I think what most of us are doing is prompt crafting versus prompt engineering, and she talks about this, and it was really good for the context. But there's also this one from IBM that's pretty good, right? Some of these, not so much. This one, okay, yeah, I think this one, actually, I've seen this one as well, right? So you can definitely find, like, if I was just to say AI prompting, I'd probably get better results. 5 months ago, yeah, so oh good, she's listed twice. Now she's listed twice because I watched it, right? Remember, that feed is curated based on your interest. But then go ask it and then come back and tell us. Like in your case, you wouldn't have examples, but you may have learned something in research. So, what I'm really grading here is how well you're answering, right? This question, whether it be what you're already doing, give examples, right? Or what you've learned by just doing some research about how to write good prompts. So you get, now in this case, I'm also opening this up to replies because I want to really to look at what other folks are doing. And I haven't been requiring replies until now, mostly because sometimes I feel like they get frustrated. They get frustrating for students because it's just like, it's like it doesn't feel like it's meaningful, but this feels like a perfect opportunity to get some good interaction going. And, anyway, that's your week 10, and I'll talk to you later.